This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Watch the greenbacks tumble.
Just one more drop of bliss and I'll be... I'm all set. Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Blissed? Here we go. Your dial's set correctly to USAPrepares.com. We're delighted you're here. Broadcasting 2 hours from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains, Studio A. Information's on the website. And there's a link to all of your instructors at USAPrepares.com. Converging threats are confronted daily by your instructors. I'm Vincent Finelli. Tom is at the controls in Minnesota. He's producing the broadcast. Meet up tonight, Ziggy's. Joyce Riley's going to be talking about experimenting on our military. Imagine this. Imagine being ordered to take unknown biological injections because you've been ordered to. And if you don't, court-martial. Yeah, what have we done to our military? Tonight, live via teleseminar, Joyce Riley will be at her farm. I'll be at Ziggy's with the meetup class, 5:30. Sunshine and Glenstone, Ziggy's, Springfield, Missouri. You're invited. Government employees, picture ID required at the door. Everyone else is invited. Politicians, you will not feel comfortable. Frank Underhill's with us. Welcome, Frank.
Vincent, glad to be here with you. I think we have a big program this morning and a lot to cover.
Well, I'm glad to hear your voice, Frank. Did you have a good weekend?
I certainly did. I was watching hockey over the weekend, and the Canucks beat Calgary 3-4. Hurrah! And went to church. It was our 35th anniversary. Like, that's long before I was a member. We had a Hawaiian luau, and very nice to see familiar faces again.
Wonderful, Frank. I want to share with you something that happened in a neighboring county here in Missouri. Now, of course, we're all talking about the government shutdown. And there are many counties, and I believe each county in the state of Missouri, as in many other states, have a group of people who work in the same building. And it would be Soil and Water Conservation District is what it's known as. And these are the guys who will come out to your farm, and they'll say, you know what, if we put a fence around your stream, and if we put a fence around your woods, and if we drill some wells and run some pipe, and we put some cattle waterers in, we'll pay you between 75 and 90% of the cost. So the farmer will receive between 75 and 90% of the cost of doing this from the government. And the farmer will put up between 10 and 25% of the cost. And we have a lot of neighbors who have been involved in having these fences installed to keep their cows out of their woods, which makes no sense to me. Because if you keep your cows out of the woods, they're out of the woods when it's raining, when it's snowing, when it's hailing, when it's sleeting, and when it's really, really bright sun. And the cows need that protection, just like we do. I mean, we don't go outside when it's raining and stay outside, and we don't go outside and stay outside when it's snowing and hailing, and we don't go out and stay in the sun all day without protection either. So the cows need what we need, and so do a lot of animals. Anyway, so these soil and water conservation guys are state employees. And a federal employees will be in the same building, and they'll share the same building, and they'll have seminars where they charge you to teach you about growing grass and best, as they would call them, best farm practices, and give you updates on the latest terror that they're raining down on farmers, which would be, IEDs on animals and things like that. Anyway, in Texas County, which is near where I am right now. They have these soil and water conservation guys and the U.S. Department of Agriculture employees, and they work out of the same building. Well, the building was locked down because the U.S. Department of Agriculture people did not open it up. So here we have state employees going to work. They can't get into the building because that they share with the federal employees because the federal guys are furloughed. So we have state employees who are paying to do nothing, and they're being locked out. Now, I said to Dr. Howard Shane, he stopped over last night with his wife, Dr. Howard Shane. Both of them are doctors. So I said, so Dr. Shane, Dr. Howard Shane, if you went to work in the morning, and you're getting ready to open up your building, and you realize that your wife, Dr. Howard Shane, both of them, have keys, and she accidentally got on the tooth truck, which is a dental truck where they ride around the community and help people who are, let's say, unable to afford dentistry. They do free dental services on this tooth truck. There are a lot of dentists that volunteer. So let's say your wife took the keys to your dental practice, and you go in and you can't get in. That would be an unusual circumstance because both of them have keys. But let's say Dr. Howard Shane didn't have the keys and he couldn't get into his office. Would he just go home? And he looked at me like, are you kidding? And, obviously he would call his wife first right away, say, do you have the keys? I need them. Where are you? I'll just race over and get the keys. Or, worst case, he would call a locksmith and get the doors open, right? He wouldn't go home just because he didn't have the keys. Now, that's the case of these government minions, these government boneheads. They didn't go to work because the door was locked by the soil and water conservation guys. I'm sorry, by the USDA guys. Can you imagine that? Frank, can you imagine just going to work and finding your door locked and just saying, geez, the door's locked, I'll go home? Would that ever happen?
Well, I have the luxury of working for myself, so that'll never happen unless I dictate it happens. But I think basically when people come to work and the door is locked, Vincent, I don't know, should people just take it in stride and say, well, I get a day off? Because remember, they also passed a bill that they're going to get paid all their back pay for not even showing up to work in the first place.
What a racket. What a racket. I think, hey, Frank, right after this broadcast, I'm going to pass a bill that says I'm going to get paid for raising cows even though I don't do it. Okay? Even though I don't have any cows, even though I don't show up at the farm, I think I'll go to the beach, and I'll just spend a few months there, and when I come back, I'll check my mail, and my check should be there. Who are these people? Have they lost their minds?
I think they pay farmers not to grow right now anyways, don't they?
Well, some farmers, but I don't do it. I don't get paid not to grow. I'm not interested in being a slave to the government. I am not interested in it. I'm not going to take their money for doing nothing. I work. Well,
because you're an honorable man, that's why. And I've met you a few times, and you keep your word, and you get paid when you earn it. I wish everyone else would have that same doctrine.
Well, Frank, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy that these government boneheads have locked down the building for our state employees. But our state employees didn't show up. I mean, they didn't call a locksmith. I would. I'd call a locksmith. First of all, I'd call the guy who from the from the USDA, and I'd say, hey, get back here and open up this building. And if he didn't open up the building, I'd call his boss. And if he didn't open up the building, I'd call the locksmith and the newspaper and the TV station and the radio stations. That's what I would do. And I'd say, you wouldn't believe this. You want to know why we're in trouble? You want to know why we're bankrupt? You want to know why we're going down and we're not coming back? Because of boneheads like this, and it's happening all over the country.
Well, on the last program, I think we touched on that people probably should be happy, like in Congress, they can take some time off and go home and spend time with their family and still get paid and come back when the dust has settled down, right? I think we talked about that. They should be happy.
Well, You're talking about who being
Congress.
happy? Congress should be happy.
Congress should be happy, yeah. Yes. Because they shut down the government. You figure I said this on the last program, that if they shut down government, at least they can all go home and we can get all a breather from this.
Oh, yeah. A lot of us would say, if we could just pay these guys to do nothing, boy, that'd be great.
Right.
Of course, yeah. I mean, they're so bad, we'd rather pay them to do nothing than pay them to do whatever it is they do, because they're in our way and they're in our faces. And But, Frank, how do you feel about the actual partial shutdown?
Well, we're seeing it here.
Okay.
We have Lake Mead closed down for the most part. You can't drive around the roadblock. Even though you can probably say, I'll get in my car and just drive around the gate and go down the hill, forget it. Mm-hmm. Big trouble.
Really, why?
Just because they're not getting paid doesn't mean it's not patrolled. Parts of Mount Charleston are shut down here, and you can't get to a national park. So in a state like mine, unlike yours, Vincent, relies heavily on tourism. If you have Grand Canyon closed, you have our Red Rock closed, you have our Red Rock Canyon, for your listeners, it's just west of Las Vegas, very lovely. When the sun sets on it, you just see literally red rock, or the sun rises, or you see red rock, and it's taking a toll on our tourism here. And the last thing we need here in Nevada in a sluggish economy is a bunch of angry visitors coming here and not being able to have the freedom to view our landmarks here.
And what, Frank, what about these homes that are built on federal land where the owners own the homes?
Well, this is it. I don't think they definitely own it. They lease the land, but to be there, you have to have a place in Las Vegas here. And those people are, can't go to their home, clean out the refrigerator, lock it up for the winter, what have you. So it's a real inconvenience for them as well. And I think there's other states where people have cabins on this kind of a lease agreement as well too, that are in national parks.
Mm-hmm. So people lease the land, they own the cabins, and they can't get to them because the land is closed by the federal government. Now, why is
the road is closed? The
road's closed. The road's closed. We're talking about public property being the road. It's closed. Wow. How did we let this happen? Frank Underhill and I will be right back. Frank Underhill's with us. Frank, I just posted on the website, you were talking about Lake Mead, just outside of Las Vegas. The government shutdown is closing homes for some locals, and they're being forced out of their homes on Lake Mead because they sit on federal land. There's a husband and wife, the Spencer family. She's 77, he's 80, and they have to move to their ice cream store because they can't go home. Their home is on federal land. So what's happening is the park rangers have told them they've got 24 hours to get out. First of all, how can they in good conscience throw these people out of their homes and make them homeless because their homes are built on federal land, which is perfectly acceptable when they built these homes? Who are these people? Frank, we need to remember who they are when, going forward, we need to point out these people who have thrown these senior citizens, 77 and 80 years old, throwing them out. It's criminal in my opinion. And
also, your listeners, to know that these homes are more like, cabins, one-room, two-room places. They're not like palatial 3,000-square-foot homes, with a stunning view of the lake. These are very small lots, very small dwellings, minimal sustenance, not too encroach on the environment in any way. For the most part, just still keep the appearance of natural setting. Yeah. So if your listeners, these are not like wealthy landowners living in nice looking cedar houses and with a pool and the lake in front. By no means, it's nothing like that there.
Mm-hmm. Frank, I have some friends who in the past would say to me, "Oh yeah, we bought this really neat place, and we're going to live there, and it backs on federal land, so we're protected, and we're going to be safe." And I said to them, "Have you lost your mind? You want you want to be backed on federal land?
You want to back federal protected?
Oh man,
the government's protected."
That's right. That's right. Oh, jeez. Frank, the non-essential employees that we have furloughed, I think it's as I look at this, I look at businesses and I say, man, oh man, I just can't imagine any business trying to stay afloat, hiring people they don't need. It's impossible to hire people that you don't need unless you're the government, or unless the government pays you as a small business or a business to hire people that you don't need. It's unnecessary, it's costly, and it's impossible for the real world to do that. It's impossible. Only the government could pull this off. And I think it's great that we have this national shutdown, except I think it's just a partial solution. We need to have like a 99% government shutdown, where 99% of these people who would not otherwise be able to get a job if it weren't for the government, we've got to stop paying those guys. I really mean that, because I look at government employees, and they're always looking at their watch. They're always thinking about lunch. They're always thinking about how hard they work. They're always thinking about their retirement. But they're not thinking about what they're supposed to be doing. And Frank, have you ever been in a government building? I mean, literally a government building that has an elevator. Have you been in one where you spent maybe 10 minutes in a government building and you watched how these government employees behave? Have you had a chance to do that?
I could say I have the privilege of not. I haven't set foot in a government building. The only time I did was getting my green card and then getting my citizenship here at the federal courthouse. And again, that was on the ground level. There are no elevators to go up. But I refuse to go in any government building unless I have to, like for driver's license. But generally, I like to stay away from the. When I think of government building, I think of jail, prison, detention, and I just like to. And of course, in those buildings I mentioned, it has just that in there: jails, armed guards, police. I shun these places.
Well, the reason I ask is if you get a chance to go into a government building class and you get in the elevator and you watch the government employees, they'll talk about each other. It's like, "Do you see Susie? Oh, I can't believe she did that." They complain about each other. They talk about each other. But in business, that's not what we do. We talk about issues and solutions. But in government buildings, they talk about people, their coworkers. They're miserable at their jobs. They hate it. Frank Underhill's with us. Frank, on Friday, I decided that I had it with the government shutdown because of what they have done to our 80 and 90-year-old veterans who showed up in Washington, D.C. I had a dear friend, his name is Paul, and he was in his 80s, and he died recently. And he used to talk about his visit to the World War II Memorial. He was in the U.S. Army. My dad was in the U.S. Army. My dad never got to see the memorial, but Paul did, and he would talk about it, and it was one of the highlights of his life. And I saw him in a wheelchair. He was wheeled out there by a chaperone. There were a whole bunch of guys, World War II veterans, that were flown from Missouri to Washington, D.C., just to visit the World War II Memorial. And he would beam when he talked about it. He had cancer toward the end of his life, and it was, but the highlight he would talk about over and over was this trip to the World War II memorial. And as I saw more and more on the news about what the police did to throw out these veterans and to erect the barriers and then to tie the barriers together with wire so that the veterans could not get in. And these are men in wheelchairs. These are the men who stormed the beaches, who they were at Iwo Jima. These are our heroes, the greatest generation. Well, it made me furious. So I recorded 4 minutes, and I'm going to play that for you right now. And if you want to share it, I'll tell you what happened with YouTube right after I play it. It's going to be just 4 minutes. The federal government partial shutdown has taken a dire turn for our country. Politicians have shown their true colors. They've demonstrated that they are not on the side of we the people. Our World War II memorial belongs to us. It's a remembrance of the ultimate price many have paid. Losing life, limbs. Many have been wounded, but all have been scarred for their entire lives. The National Park Service has been ordered to make life difficult for us. Exactly who is responsible for these actions? My father volunteered to fight for our country in World War II, to protect and defend her from the attack by the Imperial Japanese Navy. His brothers enlisted. All the men of fighting age in our family enlisted. My dear friend Paul, now deceased, recently would tell me over and over just how important that honor flight from Missouri to Washington, D.C. was. He had the opportunity in the final days of his life to visit the World War II memorial. It was a memorial to him and those like him who fought to defend the United States of America. He rekindled friendships, the memories, the shared tears. All those serving in World War II who saw killing action were permanently scarred, including Paul and my father. The haunting memories of the burning bodies, the torn flesh, the rotting flesh were ever present until their deaths. And our federal government has set up barricades to keep wheelchaired veterans, 80 to 90-year-old men, and their chaperones out of our World War II memorial. Those same 80 to 90-year-old veterans served in the Army, the Navy, and the Marines. Veterans pushed their wheelchairs right through the barricades, the same way they acted to win World War II. And they have every right to do so. They have every right to be there. They're on public property. The federal government responded with a forklift and 7 employees to erect more barricades. The federal government escalated with interlocking barricades wired together so our veterans without tools could not get through. Intentionally, the federal government locked down the World War II memorial so our veterans could not get through. Your National Park Service has been ordered by the federal government to block off walking and bicycle trails so you can't use them. They blocked off the home of our very first president, George Washington. That's located in Mount Vernon, Virginia. The property is not even government property. It belongs to the Mount Vernon Ladies Association. Your National Park Service has been told, make it difficult for us, and they are. My question to you is, are they trying to incite a riot by pushing us around, by pushing around men in wheelchairs who have built this country and prevented us from speaking Japanese and German? They won World War II for all of us. The federal government is out of control. Let me be very clear. I'm not advocating violence in any way, shape, or form from we the people. But I ask those of you in government, there will be a day when you will need to decide whether you will obey unlawful orders or not. And to the police, start thinking about all those tickets you're writing. Do you sleep well at night? Targeting your neighbors? Fining them with points? Increased insurance costs? Fees? Court costs? They can't afford it. We're in a depression. Do you think that those people who you fined and targeted will ever forget? We are America. We're in this together. I suggest you take that stick out of our eye. For more information, 7 hours, Monday through Friday, starting at 10 at night. USAPrepares.com radio network. Right here, 99.3 FM on the Rooster Radio Network. I'm Vincent Finelli. Well, there you have it. That affiliate, the Rooster, is a station down the road from us here in Missouri. And I broadcast this very broadcast, the one you're listening to right here, right now, at night, starting at 10 o'clock. It's a rebroadcast of what we're doing right now. And I was so outraged by what our government has done to those veterans that I spent the time putting together that. I wrote it up by hand, based on articles that I read, based on images that I saw on the internet, based on posts that I put on our website, usaprepares.com. And Ron Gibson is a man who is in the Carolinas on the East Coast. I've never met him. He takes audio from me. He picks it up on the internet. He downloads it. I didn't even know about him until about a week ago. He downloads it, and he added the video images that I was thinking about to the audio, and he posted it on YouTube. And so if you go to usaprepares.com, page 1, you'll see that post that has the images. And I'll tell you what, when I listened to it for the very first time and watched it on YouTube, I had tears in my eyes throughout the whole thing. And I've heard that many people have said the same reaction. And what Ron Gibson has done with his YouTube channel that picks up usaprepares.com, he took the very images that I had in my mind when I wrote with paper and pencil the bullet points to do that little 4-minute piece. And he put the images in exactly where I was thinking about them. I didn't discuss with him what my thoughts were. He just built it on his own, with his own research. So if you get a chance, go to usaprepares.com if you want to see the video that goes with that 4-minute audio. It's only 4 minutes. But it's these men in wheelchairs. It's the park police. It's the Washington, D.C. Forklift operator. It's the erecting of the barricades. It's all of those images that you probably have in your mind about how our government is abusing us. And then when you think about them shutting down bicycle trails. Really? Why are they doing that? You know, I believe they're trying to start a revolution. I believe they are doing everything they can to provoke us into responding with violence. I think it's going to happen. I'm not asking for it to happen. I don't want it to happen. But I think someone is just going to lose his temper or her temper, and the violence will escalate right from there. Pushing around these World War II veterans is unconscionable. It's outrageous. It makes me and everybody I know angry. And people are saying, why? And the answer is because they can get away with it. The federal government is flexing to see just how far we are willing to go taking this abuse. Taking being stopped, our cars being searched, these guys bashing down our doors with ski masks on so we can't tell who they are. I don't know, I'm going to say this. I don't know anybody. I don't know a single person who has respect for anybody in uniform. I'm talking about blue uniforms. I'm talking about the police. I don't know anybody who has any respect for the police right now. No one. Why? Because they're targeting us. They're targeting us. They're sniping at us with radar guns. They're looking for taillights that are out. They're looking to see if they can somehow say that we didn't use our turn signal. They're looking for seatbelt violations. They are running. Oh, there's a video on usaprepares.com where 2 police cars are chasing some guy down because they think he has a seatbelt violation. They chase him down. He jumps out of his car. He's being pursued by these 2 police cars. He runs on the grass. He slips. He falls. And the cop car runs him over and kills him. And where does the video come from? The dash camera from the police car that ran him over and killed him. And if you see it, you will see that that cop was going so fast, there is no way he could have stopped. No way. That cop should be in jail. handcuffed inside his jail. There's no reason for that. The woman who crashed into the barrier in Washington, she crashes into a barrier. So what do? They kill her. They shoot her and kill her. Come on. Come on. This has got to stop. It's way overboard. Cops, I want you to think about this. As things get worse and worse and worse, do you want us to be your allies, or do you want to make us your enemies? We used to respect you. We used to respect the police. Not anymore. Not anymore. With your ticket quotas and your ticket contests, and you're pushing us around and you're being bullies, we've had it with you. We have no respect. No one has respect for the police anymore. And we say on this radio program, don't call 911, because if you do, someone's going to get shot and killed, or someone's going to jail. I'll see if I can calm down over the short commercial announcements, Frank, and I will be right back. Tom is a great producer here at Genesis Communications Network, and he helped me calm down. Frank, I lost my temper.
Well, you have a lot. It's not only a temper. You have a lot of good things to say, Vince, and that probably resonates well with a lot of the listeners out there.
Frank, I'm holding in my hand a credit card. Not a debit card, a credit card. It's a Visa. Now, I used to have from the same company a credit card. There was a MasterCard, and it was such an abusive MasterCard that I called the. It's from Casey's General Store. It's like a 7-Eleven, but Casey's General Store. And I called the chief financial officer, and I complained about how they kept shutting my credit card down for stupid reasons, like if I bought $1 worth of gasoline and then I filled up my tank with diesel to thin out the gasoline on really freezing days so that the diesel wouldn't gel in my truck. Or if I had two payments of the same amount automatic from like Verizon on the same day for my daughter and me, and they'd shut my credit card down. So many times my credit card's been shut down because they thought there was fraud involved, and it's caused me a lot of problems. Well, the latest one. Anyway, I actually talked to the chief financial officer of Casey's General Store and said, look, I used to work at a credit card bank, and your customers are going to think you're doing this. They're going to think because the credit card says Casey's General Store on it, even though it's a MasterCard, even though it was issued by Juniper Bank, they're going to think that this abuse is coming from Casey's General Store, and they're going to hate your store. Well, he actually believed me, and he threw overboard Juniper Bank and replaced it with another bank. Well, the other bank's better. But my credit card, I bought some mugs. I don't know if you've heard me talk about these mugs that I drink coffee out of and tea out of when I'm on the broadcast. And those are the mugs that we have at the expo, and those are the mugs that we get. Genesis has them at their studios, and the Rooster has them, and they're all over. Anyway, so I bought thousands of mugs, and I found out my credit card was compromised. My credit card was compromised. It was hacked along with thousands of others, and so I had to get issued a new credit card. The whole point, Frank, when this is happening, it affects GoDaddy, it affects all my electronic commerce, which I really don't like in the first place, but there aren't a lot of choices. The bottom line is I was thinking about you, Frank, and how you use cash whenever you can. I do too. But I had to get all new credit cards. It's going to take me 3 days to change all the information in all of these electronic accounts that I have in order to run this broadcast. Because it was hacked in Europe because I bought mugs at Discount Mugs in the United States. So we got to get away more. We got to get farther and farther away from using these electronic transactions.
We need to get government further and further away from electronic transactions. We need to get the spending away from electronic transactions. We need to get consumers away from electronic transactions, because as what happened to you, anytime you put a card into a machine, you can get compromised. And when you look at all the other variables out there. There's just nothing but bad news everywhere. Like here in Nevada, foreclosures have been ramped up so homeowners can beat the bill of homeowners' rights or whatever they call it, so they can short sale their home to friends and family and relatives. But now that now they say the law itself might have no teeth in it. But regardless, you can move to the left, they move to the right. You can shift, they can jive. You can, it's like it's a game of checkers everywhere now.
When we come back on the other side of the top of the hour, I think it'd be neat to talk about where gold is going, what's happened to the United States as an energy producer, and then also about what's going on with the dollar, and what's this about Miley Cyrus, the gyrator? She's a national disgrace, in my opinion. I mean, really, are we racing to the bottom? Is that girl able to go anywhere without her tongue hanging out? Frank Underhill, Vin Finelli, USAPrepares.com. I'm so glad we have top of the hour news and commercials, because really, I wouldn't be able to get through this broadcast. I get so... We'll be right back.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
We really have a great producer class. Tom's with me, and he talks to me through the breaks, and he just has this great microphone side manner that gets me to calm down right away. And he spent the entire break with me, top of the hour news. And we were talking about all kinds of things. And Tom, I just want you to know it's great having you with us, side by side. Tom and Frank Underhill. Frank, it's great to have you with us side by side.
Thank you, Vincent. Thank you.
Class, I just want to share with you, we have several affiliates. And what happens is, we do the broadcast with Genesis Communications Network. Then these other affiliates pick up the broadcast from Genesis. So there's KYAH, and that's AM 540 in Utah. Then there's WBCR AM 1470 in Tennessee. KLID likes to pick us up AM 1340 in Missouri. And then there's Galaxy 19, which is a satellite over the United States, Canada, Mexico, Central America, and the islands. Then there's Liberty News Radio, and then there's KUNQ. KUNQ is Big Country 99, and we're on KUNQ. It's a powerful station in Missouri. It's country by day, and then at 10 o'clock at night, and we take over for 7 hours, and it's USA Prepares at night. And I want to share, Frank. I'd like to play one more time that one piece that we did. It's 4 minutes, class. It's 4 minutes. It's my reaction. It's my reaction to what is happening in America, to our veterans, what the United States federal government has done to our veterans. I'm outraged. It really is upsetting to me, and I'm going to play it. And the reason I'm playing it is I was asked to be on KUNQ tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, and they asked me to discuss this because they are playing this right now. The federal government partial shutdown has taken a dire turn for our country. Politicians have shown their true colors. They've demonstrated that they are not on the side of we the people. Our World War II memorial belongs to us. It's a remembrance of the ultimate price many have paid, losing life, limbs. Many have been wounded, but all have been scarred for their entire lives. The National Park Service has been ordered to make life difficult for us. Exactly who is responsible for these actions? My father volunteered to fight for our country in World War II, to protect and defend her from the attack by the Imperial Japanese Navy. His brothers enlisted. All the men of fighting age in our family enlisted. My dear friend Paul, now deceased, recently would tell me over and over just how important that honor flight from Missouri to Washington, D.C. was. He had the opportunity in the final days of his life to visit the World War II memorial. It was a memorial to him and those like him who fought to defend the United States of America. He rekindled friendships, the memories, the shared tears. All those serving in World War II who saw killing action were permanently scarred, including Paul and my father. The haunting memories of the burning bodies, the torn flesh, the rotting flesh were ever present until their deaths. And our federal government has set up barricades to keep wheelchaired veterans, 80 to 90-year-old men, and their chaperones out of our World War II memorial. Those same 80 to 90-year-old veterans served in the Army, the Navy, and the Marines. Veterans pushed their wheelchairs right through the barricades, the same way they acted to win World War II. And they have every right to do so. They have every right to be there. They're on public property. The federal government responded with a forklift and 7 employees to erect more barricades. The federal government escalated with interlocking barricades wired together so our veterans without tools could not get through. Intentionally, the federal government locked down the World War II memorial so our veterans could not get through. Your National Park Service has been ordered by the federal government to block off walking and bicycle trails so you can't use them. They blocked off the home of our very first president, George Washington. That's located in Mount Vernon, Virginia. The property is not even government property. It belongs to the Mount Vernon Ladies Association. Your National Park Service has been told, make it difficult for us, and they are. My question to you is, are they trying to incite a riot by pushing us around, by pushing around men in wheelchairs who have built this country and prevented us from speaking Japanese and German? They won World War II for all of us. The federal government is out of control. Let me be very clear. I'm not advocating violence in any way, shape, or form from we the people. But I ask those of you in government, there will be a day when you will need to decide whether you will obey unlawful orders or not. And to the police, start thinking about all those tickets you're writing. Do you sleep well at night? Targeting your neighbors, fining them with points, increased insurance costs, fees, court costs. They can't afford it. We're in a depression. Do you think that those people who you fined and targeted will ever forget? We are America. We're in this together. I suggest you take that stick out of our eye. For more information, 7 hours, Monday through Friday, starting at 10 at night. USAPrepares.com radio network. Right here, 99.3 FM on the Rooster Radio Network. I'm Vincent Finelli. Okay, there you have it. That's my reaction to the federal government's stance on preventing veterans from visiting their memorial. Their memorial. It's not the federal government's. It belongs to we the people. And Mount Rushmore, Frank, these guys, these boneheads in Washington that we have somehow mistakenly elected to represent our interests, these politicians are out of control.
Only if Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, and Roosevelt could see what is going on here today.
Yeah, you know, they would be, I don't want to say it, but it'd be great to have them back. It really would. You know, we had statesmen back then. Now we have boneheads like Barney Frank, mumbling, stumbling, parasite, homo. Gosh, how did we do this? How did we get to the point where who elected these people? Frank, when I think about the damage that these people who supposedly we voted for have done in the last 20 years, and most importantly, since the current regime has taken office, they have really done a lot of damage. But I look at people now a lot differently. I look at people who voted for this current regime with disrespect. I look at them and I say, how could you have voted for these boneheads? What's the matter with you? I don't have cocktail parties here at the farm, Frank, but if I did, I would never invite if I had invited those people in the past and say, well, they're just misguided, they really don't know what they're doing. No, these are people who voted for people who are stealing from you and me. I don't like them. I don't like them. And I'll tell you what, I'm at the point now where if someone were to come to my farm, and if I knew that they voted for this current regime, I'd throw them out. I'd throw them out and say, get off my property. You voted for people who are stealing from me and everybody I know and like. Frank, I can't believe I'm saying these things. You know, it used to be that you didn't talk about politics at a party and you didn't talk about religion because it was something that evoked emotion. But you know what? It's beyond emotion. It's these people are stealing from us. These people are oppressing us. These people are in our way of productivity.
Vincent, I myself would not go to a party where they don't talk politics or religion myself, actually.
No, I understand. No, what I'm saying is, you know, it used to be that you were told, you know, don't talk about politics and religion. But what I'm saying is, Frank, if I knew that someone were coming to my house, my farm, that voted for this current regime, I would not want that person on my property unless he said, Vincent, I am so sorry. I had no idea that what you were saying was going to happen. I had no idea, but I believe you now. And it's just not just me. It's all of us. It's all of us here on the network who feel the same. I can't believe it. I can't believe that we have our country's being stolen from us right before our eyes, and there are people that just don't even get it. They don't get it. There's a woman who comes to the meetups. I'm going to see her tonight, and she's lost everything. She was very, 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 very wealthy, and she used to buy houses and sell them, like 100 in the air at one time. She was doing very, very well. And she was listening to the mainstream media. And they were saying the economy's turning around, it's getting better, everything's getting better. You know, it's improving, real estate sales are up. She bought all that nonsense. And she lost everything. She lost everything. And I talked to her, and she said, a couple weeks ago at the meetup, she said, I believe everything you're saying. But I want to believe everything the media is saying. I want to believe what they're saying, but I actually believe what you're saying. But I'm following both. It's impossible. You can't follow both. Because we're saying that the media is lying to you. We're saying that banks are... Frank, I called this... Over the weekend, I called this store. It's called Schatz Supermarket in Michigan. The federal government has stolen their entire bank account under the forfeiture law. And there's no due process. They've just taken the entire operating capital from Schatz Supermarket. The post is on the website if you want to read about it. USAprepares.com. Thank gosh for commercials. I'll be right back. Well, class, I mentioned that Schatz Supermarket in Michigan, Fraser, Michigan. I talked with Terry Schott yesterday over the weekend, and his daughter. Sandra, and they've been operating the store for 30 years, and federal government cleaned out their bank account, their operating capital of $35,600. No warning, no due process. The federal government just went after their account, and they don't know why. Now, can you imagine, Frank, can you imagine what a problem that is for a small business when all of their capital is stolen from them, and they can't get answers as to why? They've done absolutely nothing wrong. Class, seriously, you need to have operating capital at home in cash. And Bob Chapman, Frank, remember Bob Chapman would say, don't leave more than 30 days worth of funds in the bank? Don't leave more than 30 days worth of money in the bank. Well, digits in the bank. That's why. Here's a precise example of why. And electronic digits, where they shut my credit cards down because they think there might be some fraudulent activity by somebody else. They shut my credit cards down at least 3 times. And had I not had a plan B, I would have been toast, traveling 1,000 miles in the truck, and my credit card gets shut down because I bought a dollar's worth of gasoline to mix with diesel because it was below freezing. And I wanted to thin out my diesel because they couldn't tell me at Flying J whether they winterized their fuel or not. Frank, Miley Cyrus, do you have any comments on that?
Well, just her behavior is what's reflected in Washington right now. And like you said, can't she go anywhere without sticking her tongue out? And I think that, for the most part, the answer to that is no. And this is exactly what we're seeing, what we're dealing with every day now, is this melee of comedy, bad comedy at that. So it's just amazing how the media can itself make fun at what is supposed to be a serious institution. It's losing its credibility.
If she had a tombstone, I'm wondering if it would say, known best for, Miley Cyrus, known best for bending over and sticking her tongue out. Can you imagine? That's what she's known for. And people pay to see her? Come on. We have fallen so far that that's what people do. They watch that nonsense. Pure trash. Class, please, make sure you turn off your television unless you're watching DVDs. We have televisions here at the farm, but we watch DVDs and VHS tapes and videos from the internet. We do not have over-the-air TV. We don't want it. As a matter of fact, for the next expo, I can't see any good reason for spending money for television advertising. I can't, because the only people we would attract with that are people who are unable to prepare for anything. Their minds are in park. Frank, where's gold going?
Well, you see, with the government and shutdown and debt ceiling coming around the corner, you're looking at gold moving higher. And I just want to point out that this has been happening over the course of the last 3 months, that gold is slowly making its way back up. And I just want listeners to know, like, when the U.S. dollar right now is below 80 right now, trading at around 79.90. Before, it was as high as 84, 85, and now it's drifting down here. If you look at the euro, it was down to like 130. Now it's 165. You look at the pound, 135 on the euro. The pound is 165. The Canadian dollar sold down to 93. It's up here almost knocking on 98. And every foreign currency you look at has appreciated against the greenback. And if you look at Canada, when their Bank of Canada, Carney left the Bank of Canada, he moved to the Bank of England, and now you look at the pound. The pound is appreciated near its year highs. The euro is near its year highs.
Let's talk about what that means when we come back, Frank. Frank Underhill's with us, underhillsecurities.com, underhillsecurities.com. Frank, you know, we talk about the U.S. dollar, and competing currencies are gaining on us, gaining, and we look at the store closings, we look at the grass growing up in the parking lots of strip malls, and we look at the lack of traffic at businesses and the reduction in commerce. I said quite a while ago, many times, that I believe that business sales, business commerce is down 75% on average for small businesses over the last 2 years. Now, there are specialized businesses that are doing well, but I mean mom and pop businesses. I believe their sales are down 75% across the board in the United States, and I'm finding more and more people are agreeing with me. I'm talking about store owners are agreeing that those numbers are not out of line. Frank, what is going on that's causing the U.S. dollar to fall against these other currencies? It's all these signs are here that we're going down. It's right in front of us.
Well, it's just that you see what's going on in Washington. They're not taking the United States seriously, but this has been happening over time, where the U.S. currency is starting to lose its foothold as the global currency. And there are other currencies that have countries that don't talk about shutting down government, that don't talk about closing veterans out of parks, that don't talk about health care and a whole milieu of other issues. And, you know, it's just transparent. And what would scare me is if investors who buy this debt simply, sell their positions off in these treasuries and just shy away and look at some other alternative. And once they shy away, people never come back.
Before the broadcast, Frank, I went to do some up-to-the-minute research on silver dollars. I look at that as an indicator of what may happen. And over the weekend, I got a call from a coin dealer, and he said, "Do you want to buy some silver dollars?" I'm cutting to the chase, and I said, "What's happening?" He said, "Well, if you want nice silver dollars, they're $35." So, Frank, if we're looking at the spot price. If we're looking at the spot price right this second, it's $22.39. Silver's up 65 cents today. But silver dollars, if you go to eBay right now, you'll see them for, $35.83 if you want them that's with shipping included. Brilliant uncirculated piece dollars, roughly $36 a piece. So, there's one for $34, and it ended at $34, but shipping's not included. Nice silver dollar, but And then culls, the bottom of the barrel in silver dollars, $26.49 each. So there still is a premium for silver dollars, Frank. People still want them, and I don't blame them. I like them too. So that's telling me more and more that the numbers that you see on the internet, I'm talking about spot prices, are manipulated. Keeps telling me over and over and over that they're manipulated. And it's telling me that people are going toward quality. And more people are taking cash out of the bank because they don't have the confidence in even banking that they used to have. It looks like, Frank, big business is not our friend anymore in any way, shape, or form. Am I confused?
Well, you mentioned the lady, whoever that had all her money taken out of the bank. Well, I don't even know why people even keep money in bank accounts myself, because anyone can come in waving a piece of paper and, suddenly they have all your money and, you're trapped. That's why you got to make alternative sources and, to quote the word term, live off the grid. Don't let credit card companies know who you are. Don't let banks, don't even go to banks. Just cash your check and take your money home. Buy gold, buy silver.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And
not waking
Frank,
up to what the talking heads on CNBC are saying, or Bloomberg Business, or Fox Business. Run away from that.
Frank, it's so hard for so many people to watch these guys on TV and say, you know what, I believe they're being paid to say what they're saying. I believe that they're lying to us intentionally. I've said before on this broadcast that I know a very famous broadcaster, and I prefer not to use his name. And I had him on our broadcast in Springfield, in studio with me. And I asked him point blank, do they tell you what you can and can't say? And this was when I was very new at broadcasting. And he looked at me and he said, absolutely not. But I know where the line is. What I'm saying is, class, these people are told what they can and can't say, with or without words. They know what they can and can't say. And also, they know that if they don't tout the party line, they'll lose their jobs. And their jobs are so important to them that they will mislead you so that they can keep their jobs. And a perfect example of that, in my opinion, is Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer telling people, where to invest. And if you look up Jim Cramer, fraud on the internet, you can find a YouTube video of him talking about how he was involved in manipulating the stock market against Apple Computer. It might still be there. Jim Cramer, fraud.
Vincent, it doesn't even have to even go around money. Like, I was watching on Fox News the other morning, and this lady was saying how, with all the parks shutting down, but how Obama is funding a museum with his own money for an Islamic cultural museum. Now, I don't know if it's true or not, but they do get paid, like you said, to say things. And I think a phrase like that would probably incite the listeners even more so. So they do get paid for what they say. And it has to be to what their sponsors want them to say.
There was an argument in a parking lot at one of the colleges here in Springfield, Missouri, a few days ago. And that escalated into 3 college campuses being shut down because supposedly a man had a gun. Literally, they shut down 3 campuses, and it was based on an argument in a parking lot. We need to be careful that we don't overreact, and we need to make sure that we react appropriately. Frank, I'm going to share something with you, and I don't have the details, but there's a school system in Springfield. I was told over the weekend that there's a school system in Springfield that notified the parents that the supplies have just come in. They now have about 4 days' worth of food and water for every student. So should there be an event, the students will be taken to another location. And at the appropriate time, the parents of those students will be notified where they can pick the students up. One parent that we know of indirectly, through another one of our instructors, did the right thing, and she immediately pulled her child out of that school system. Frank, the school system is now saying, if there's a problem, we will take over and we will take control of your child. And when we determine that we should notify you where that child is, you can then come pick your child up. There's no way. There's no way I would ever agree to that. They would take our child someplace where I don't know where our child would be. No way. No way. And what would that be? Is that an earthquake? I don't know. Is that a power grid down? I don't know. If I had a child in the school system, I would say, child, we need to talk about your school. We're going to visit your school on the weekend. We're going to walk around your school. And if it's in walking distance to home, here's what we do. If there's an emergency, you immediately come home because we will meet you there. And here are the different kinds of emergencies. And if you get a text message that says some specific code, you are to come home. You are to say, I don't feel well. I feel sick. I need to go to the little boy's room. And then run out of the school and run home. That's what I would tell my child. Frank, what do you think? Is that over the top? Am I out of control?
I couldn't have said it any better, Vincent. I think you're right on with this.
Who are these people? And here's why I say this. I believe that teachers are mercenaries, for the most part. The proof of that is if you stop paying them, they don't come to work. They don't work during the summer. They don't volunteer to say, hey, you know what, I'm only working 9 months a year. Tell you what, let me give you another month for free. And there's so many students in my class that need extra help. I want to help them. Show me one teacher that does that. Just show me one. I'm saying teachers are mercenaries. Now, they may say, I'd love to, but the administration won't let us. Oh, really? Why? Why won't the administration let us? You mean tell me if you don't get 10 teachers together say, look, we want to teach our children so they're more prepared for life, and I'm willing to volunteer my time as a teacher to do that. We want you to keep the building open. And if the superintendent says no, and the principal says no, you go to the school board, and if they say no, you form an organization and you throw out every member of the school board that says no. You throw them out. You put in your own people in the school board, and then you fire that superintendent. And then you fire that principal. Because they're in the way of education. I'm so glad we have commercials. Frank, what do you want to talk about when we come back? Real quickly.
Well, we can talk about energy when we come back.
Energy. Frank and I are going to talk about energy. I am going to try not to say a word. We'll see if I can do it. We'll be right back. Class, if you look at the internet, you're going to see some images of the Obamas. That'd be both Barack and Michelle. And they are now, the internet is now depicting angry facial images on the web of those two individuals. Not the smiley, happy, everything is just fine images that you used to see, but they have these angry expressions. But it's backwards. We are the ones who are angry. We the people. We the people are angry with what this administration is doing. And class, if you get a chance, if you could share with your friends and family that 4-minute YouTube video about the veterans and what this administration has done to them by locking them out of the memorial, their memorial, the World War II memorial, to the veterans, locking these 80 and 90-year-old wheelchaired veterans out of the memorial. I'd appreciate that. That's on page 1, usaprepares.com. It's a YouTube video. It's only 4 minutes. Frank, energy.
Well, the U.S. now has the title of being the #1 energy producer, and yet you don't see that translate into any substantially lower prices at the fuel pump. Instead, what we're seeing are just seasonally adjusted prices at the fuel pump. So with all this drilling going on and all this oil exporting, where's the dividend for the country, basically?
That's a really good point. So are we consuming more energy? Because I remember John Reagan saying that our gasoline consumption is way down, and that's an indicator that commerce is way down, and consumption is way down. So we're #1 in energy production.
Right, and when you look at, like I said on a program or two ago, how I see so many Teslas and so many of these Priuses and Chevy Volts on the road these days, perhaps it's a sign that consumption is going to even go down even further. Cars are smaller.
That's another thing, Frank. I saw, I was picking up some parts. Our son and I were replacing a diesel fuel injection pump on his truck over the weekend, and we saw this half a car. And he looked at me, and we were in a pickup. He said, "You know, that little car would fit in the bed of my pickup truck," and he was right. And so people are buying these little small cars, they're called smart cars. But I don't see any senators and Congress critters. And by the way, I don't see Barack and Michelle riding around in one of these smart cars. If they're so smart, why aren't they riding around in one? They want us to ride around in these little half-a-cars. That's what I call them, half-a-cars. They would never ride around in one. But they want us to ride around them because they don't want us using their energy in their mind. It's their energy. It's not our energy. It's their... Who are these people? Class, never re-elect anybody. Frank, I said I would try to be quiet. I couldn't do it. Meet up tonight, class. Ziggy's 5:30, Sunshine in Glenstone, Springfield, Missouri. Joyce Riley's going to be doing a live teleseminar on what have we done to our military, experimenting on them, injecting them, and then watching what happens, and then saying, oh, we don't know how you got that. Diseases, giving the military diseases. I would not want to be of draft age. And that's another thing. Draft. Get drafted to go to the military, or you go to jail. You get a choice. Go to jail or get shot at. Take your pick. That's fighting old men's wars, other people's wars. Frank, we talked about the currencies. We talked about the energy. Foreclosures still happening in Las Vegas?
More rapidly than ever due to this new homeowners Bill of Rights law coming in. Banks have only ramped up the foreclosure process here. And apparently there's still no end in sight for it. Still, even though prices have gone up, well, I don't notice it in my neighborhood. But, you know, homes are bought. I don't know about home prices, but yeah, it was interesting to see how they're ramping up the foreclosure machine all over again. Fast and furious.
Yeah, let's kick more people out of their homes. Let's destroy the job market. Let's destroy commerce. Let's turn our money over to Obamacare. People who voted for and supported the president are now disgusted with the costs, the lies. Above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you. Thanks so much, Frank.